right, we're good.
That's your form.
Excellent. Okay, Jackie, was the agenda posted by the Torrance City Clerk?
Yes, it was.
Awesome. Any changes to the agenda?
No.
Okay. We have any public comments this evening?
Natalie, we don't have any public comments, right?
No public comments.
I do have a comment on the consent calendar, though, if you'll indulge me before we do that. The reason I am putting dues on the consent calendar, and Gardena did pay their dues, so thank you very much, is that by our joint powers authority, if we do not receive dues from the cities, there's now approximately 3 cities, Hawthorne, Manhattan Beach, and LA County, they lose their vote on September 30th. They get it back if we can get the dues, but we don't want anybody to lose their vote. So I've been pinging them, and if you're one of those cities, please see where the check is. We just found out today that a check was sent to our Western office, and they're not transferring them, so that has to be reissued. So that's the kind of stuff we're following up on. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is that there is a new item added to the consent calendar. I never add items to the consent calendar that were not already discussed at the steering committee. So the reason it's on the consent calendar is that I forgot to add it there, but it's coming to you with a recommendation from the steering committee. Then the final thing I want to say is that in your chat, I hope, is an updated legislative matrix. Thank you. So that's all I have on the consent calendar.
Thanks, Jackie. I was switching from one device to another. Bear with me. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, we are on to consent then. Do we have any polls? Not seeing any. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I think that was Armato and Horvath, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Oh, okay. Dave, take it away, please.
Any opposition to approving the consent calendar? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Monthly reports. Jackie, South Bay Environmental Services.
No, we don't do, those are just written reports right now. So we're on to presentations.
Oh yeah, we're flying along. Okay, presentations. Right. We've got, okay, Dr. Sylvia Prieto, is she on? It's hard to see on my iPad.
Yes, she is on.
Okay, excellent.
Dr. Prieto? Let's see where you are. Okay. Is Dr. Prieto there? Oh.
I'm assuming her staff is on. Last time they drove the presentation.
She's on. I'm going to ask her to unmute. I see her on.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, missing my notes, so sorry. Oh.
Dr. Prieto, would you prefer that we go to our other presentation?
No, that's fine. I'm ready.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I want to provide you with a brief update on COVID-19 and some changes to the health officer order that just happened this week. So if I could have the next slide, Nancy, or whoever's doing it. Thank you. The Los Angeles County Health Officer order was modified last week to require vaccination verification or negative tests within 72 hours prior to entering all mega events and event venues by October the 7th. And children under 12 will be exempt from this requirement. The health officer order also requires vaccination verification for customers and employees at indoor portions of bars, lounges, nightclubs, breweries, wineries, and distilleries. These requirements are in alignment with the recent national strategy and includes venues and events with more than 10,000 attendees that are ticketed and or have a control point of entry to a well-defined area, such as sports or music arenas and theme parks. The requirement for vaccine verification for customers in an indoor portion of bars, wineries, breweries, distillery, nightclubs, and lounges, and their employee applies to drinking establishment with either no restaurant permit or a low-risk restaurant permit, and requires that all customers and employees have at least one dose of the vaccine by October 7th and be fully vaccinated by November 4th. So those are two pretty important dates. Children under 12 are, of course, exempt from these requirements since they cannot be vaccinated at this time. A reminder that self-attestation is no longer valid to verify that someone has been fully vaccinated or as proof of a negative COVID test. So there's guidance of what is proof of vaccination status or of a negative test can be found on our website, and you see it on the slide, and we'll also put it in the chat. And I have the next slide, please. I just wanted to share a quick snapshot of SPA 8, since that's where you are all located and working from, about how we're doing in terms of the vaccination. So as of September 16, all the cities in SPA 8 have at least 60% of their population vaccinated, as you can see from this map. And it goes from the shaded area to the darkest shades of teal. If you would like to explore more vaccination data, including taking a closer look at your particular city, please visit our vaccine dashboard on the link that's listed on the bottom of the slide. Next slide, please. Just wanted to say a little bit about Lambda and Mu, because you're going to hear a little bit more about these two variants in the coming future. But just to put it in perspective, Delta continues to be the predominant species that we've sequenced by our public health lab. And it's comprising 100% of all the variants that have been identified. Although the CDC does not consider Mu or Lambda variants to be variants of concern at this point, the World Health Organization does identify them as variants of interest due to their involvement with significant community transmission or multiple COVID-19 clusters in multiple countries. We continue to gather data on the distribution of these variants among both new and historic samples. For example, this week we are reporting 10 variants of Mu that was newly identified from samples that were previously taken from LA County residents. And so there is now a total of 250 cases linked to the Mu variant. Only 5 of the Mu cases were identified after August 15th of this year. And we have not identified any new Lambda variant in the past week. So our total of Lambda cases continues to be a stable 28. Next slide, please. In the results of a study published last week, the CDC indicated that all FDA-approved COVID vaccine regimens provided a very high level of protection against hospitalization and, of course, death also. And that's very important because that's in the real world what's happening. So vaccine efficacy did vary a little bit among the different brands. Between 2 and 4 months after vaccination, Moderna vaccines reduced COVID by hospitalization by 93%, whereas Pfizer was only reduced by 88% and Johnson & Johnson only 71%. These data, along with information received from Pfizer and also other studies, provide the rationale behind the FDA's recommendation yesterday in support of providing a third booster dose of Pfizer vaccine to a subset of people, including the older adults. So yesterday's recommendation, in case somebody didn't hear about it, indicated that the third dose should be administered at least 6 months after the second of the 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, and should be offered to adults 65 and over, as well as if you're younger than 65, but you have underlying health conditions, or for young adults that are with high institutional or occupational risk. The FDA did not recommend boosters for people under the age of 18 or for people who have received both doses of other vaccines at this time. Today, the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices met and voted on who should receive the booster doses. Please note that this vote does not constitute a CDC recommendation. We expect the CDC leadership to consider this input and then make an agency recommendation in the next few days. The ACIP voted to recommend the third dose should be administered at least 6 months after the second dose of the Pfizer 2-dose series. And again, in adults 65 and over, residents of long-term care facilities, people between 50 and 64 with underlying medical conditions, and if you're between 18 and 49, if you have underlying medical conditions based on your individual benefit and risk. Next slide, please. In LA County, slightly over 1 million individuals received the 2 doses of Pfizer prior to April 1st. 420 of these individuals were 65 years and older, and many others were healthcare workers and people with severe risk for serious illness from COVID. So we are prepared, once the CDC finalizes eligibility guidance, to administer the booster dose to everyone who needs it. I'd like to answer a few questions we may expect many people who will have as we prepare to administer the booster shots to those that are eligible. While we can't answer all of these with certainty yet, as we are still waiting for the CDC guidance, we anticipate that adults 65 and older and residents of long-term care facilities who received the 2 doses of the Pfizer prior to April 1st will be eligible. And then again, the people between 50 and 64 with the underlying medical conditions, as well as those younger. Again, it's for anybody before April 1st. We also expect that based on the FDA's update to Pfizer's announcement yesterday, that people 18 to 64 with high institutional or occupational risk, such as healthcare workers, first responders, teachers and daycare staff, grocery workers, workers in homeless shelters and prisons, and others will be eligible for the booster. We also anticipate that adults who are frequently exposed to this virus by virtue of living in high-risk residential settings, such as skilled nursing facilities and other long-term facilities, will qualify for the booster shot. So again, we just need to wait. You may have a question about how to make an appointment for this third dose. So the easiest way is to make an appointment at one of the 100 sites that offer the Pfizer vaccine. And again, you can use the My Turn system, which will be ready for the booster appointments by tomorrow, or by making an appointment at a pharmacy or clinic that offers the vaccination. There are other places that don't require an appointment. And so you can go to vaccinatelacounty.com to find a community location near you where you can walk in and get your booster without an appointment. What do you need to bring to your appointment? You need to bring to your appointment verification or proof that you have received the 2 previous Pfizer doses, which could be the white vaccination card or a photo of your white card, or any kind of digital record that is available, like from the state. At many sites, you may also be asked to sign a form at the time that you get your booster, indicating that you met the criteria also. What should you do if you are in an eligible group, but you got Moderna or the J&J vaccine? If you are in any eligible group, but you received the vaccine other than the Pfizer, you'll likely need to wait until the FDA reviews the data and the need for it, as well as the safety for both the Moderna and J&J. Next slide. I know there are many people who have seen our cases in LA County decreasing, along with our dropping hospitalization and death rates, and think we must be getting back to normal now. Why are we still pushing vaccine and living with restrictions like mask requirements and even adding requirements like vaccine mandates? Well, those are all good questions, but and they're pretty reasonable. And I think we should respond to these as best we can. And so this table shows the 2-week case rate and mortality rates as of September 16 in 4 parts of LA County. Here in LA County, where 59% of the population is fully vaccinated, and as you know, masks are required for almost everyone in the indoor setting, and vaccines are mandated for many people. The other one is in New York City, where 62% of the population is fully vaccinated, and there's vaccine mandates for indoor dining, fitness center, and performance venues. And then we can look at Texas and Florida, where there's 51 and 56% respectively of those who are fully vaccinated, and where state leaders have moved to ban masks and vaccine requirements. So as you can see, in the 2 weeks before September 18th, there was 250 to 280 cases for every 100,000 people living in LA County and New York City, while in Texas and Florida, the case rates were about 800,000 per 100,000, which is about 3 times or more higher. And look at the difference in mortality rates. Here in New York City, we saw 4 and 2 deaths respectively for every 100,000, while in Texas, they saw 12 deaths and Florida saw 22 deaths per 100,000. Again, a 3 to 5 times increase in the number when compared to LA County. So the differences in cases and death rates aren't just happening to us. They're a product of our collective actions that we've taken. So businesses and people who live in different communities change these numbers when they adopt the rules that add layers of protection against this deadly virus. And this includes wearing the mask, getting tested and vaccinated, and agreeing to live within the restrictions that reduce opportunities for transmission. In places where sensible steps have not been taken to reduce the spread of the virus, the Delta strain continues to ruin futures and takes lives at a rapid pace. The reality is we're not back to normal. There remains many opportunities for the virus to spread and for new variants of concern to take hold. Until community transmission is low and vaccination coverage is much higher, prevention strategies are essential to our collective well-being and economic recovery. Waiting until the spread is high before acting doesn't reflect the reality of this pandemic and the destructive potential of the virus. Can I have the next slide, please? Lastly, I want to share the flu clinic opportunities we have available in SPA 8 in the next months. We know that flu immunization is more important than ever this year, especially for the most vulnerable in our community. So we have 3 DPH hosted flu vaccines in SPA 8, and we'll upload the flyer into the chat so you can have these dates. Again, you can get flu shots at many pharmacies, from your physician, anywhere you get your healthcare now. So I want to thank you for your attention, and we'll take any questions.
Great, thank you, Dr. Prieto. If you wouldn't mind someone to stop share the presentation, then I can see the gallery. Okay, would anyone like to ask a question of the doctor?
This is Councilmember Suarez. I'd like to ask a question.
Please do, yeah.
I've been reading articles regarding, and it depends, I guess, where you read them from, but some are saying that individuals that have antibodies, sometimes that can be just as effective as the vaccine. Is the county looking at taking those numbers into consideration in terms of how fast we can reach herd immunity?
At this point, we are not, because it's very unreliable. It's hard to know what antibody levels actually mean. For instance, if I were to do your antibody levels for measles right now, it probably would be very low. But if you had recently been exposed to somebody with the measles, it would have gone up, which means your body is basically ready to fight off the infection. So the numbers don't really predict the protection that you have. It's more protection plus recent exposure. So that's why it's very complicated to use just one number. We'd have to know what was your number in your antibody level in the past to be able to compare. And even then, again, it would be difficult to really be able to understand it totally.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Prieto? Doesn't look like it. Thank you for being on. We really appreciate your time and effort.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Stephen Fakney, the Executive Director of the Beach Cities Community Awareness and Emergency Response Organization, with the presentation.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to try to share my screen here and see if we can kick this off. Okay. All righty. Great. Well, hello and thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present and to update some and provide a new overview for others of the activities of Beach Cities Care. We are it's a partnership of fire response and emergency planning agencies with industry representatives, public officials, schools, and community members. You can see that by our logo there. A little bit about me. I worked 40 years in the petrochemical industry in various capacities and operations, environmental, risk management, process safety, and also did some time with pipelines and marine terminals. And then finished up with public and government affairs at Valero in Wilmington. My relationship with CARE goes back to 1990 as a member of CARE. But what is Beach Cities Care? It's a nonprofit benefit organization focused on providing a forum for increasing community engagement and awareness of continuous improvement of coordinated fire department and industry emergency preparedness and response programs. We are a team of 20 public agency emergency management officials, fire departments, schools, refineries, manufacturing industries in the South Bay region, aligned with the goal of enhancing public safety. The Beach Cities Care Group meets once to twice a month, and we are developing educational flyers. We developed a website with various helpful links, and we meet online right now because of the pandemic via Zoom to discuss upcoming legislation related to hazardous materials, fire department coordination, and recent incidents. And of course, our subcommittee, which is the other part of this, works on developing these educational tools that we provide. Brief history of CARE. Nationally, in 1985, the Chemical Manufacturers Association developed the Responsible Care Program as a recommended best practice for industry in response to many major industrial accidents, the biggest of which was the 1984 Bhopal incident. The CARE, Community Awareness Emergency Response, became the code of management practice, initially focused on the emergency response and then later expanded to the communication between the facility and community dialogue to cover safety, health, and environmental issues. A year later, in 1986, the U.S. Congress enacted the Superfund Amendments, also known as the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Law, EPCRA, and it required specifically a significant level of drill coordination between local fire departments, emergency planning committees, regulators, and industry. It also mandated improvements in emergency preparedness, response, and community awareness of facilities. So the government took note of what CMA had done and put it into law. The history of Beach Cities Care and South Bay Care locally, in 1990 to 2000, there were originally two care groups. One was in Beach Cities that covered El Segundo and Torrance, and the South Bay Care organization, which covered Carson and Wilmington. And we met once per month, included industry, fire agencies, and schools, and talked about recent incidents and how we could better prevent and respond to these incidents, and a lot of dialogue with local schools and public officials. By 2000, the two groups merged in response to the EPA's risk management plan, the RMP, and this particular regulation required public outreach regarding a facility's worst case chemical and explosion scenario. The combined care group at that time developed public surveys, training videos, and held public meetings throughout the South Bay and into Long Beach. By 2005, between 2005 and 2007, in response to a major power outage, many of you may remember in 2005, the AQMD asked CARE to help industry and the community develop a refinery flare outreach document. That particular incident shut down, it was caused by a DWP outage in downtown LA, and they shed power all the way to the port and shut the refineries down for about 24 hours without power, and there was excessive flaring. By 2010 through 2018, the care groups nearly dissolved due to agency and industry downsizing and reassignments. But then again, in 2018, in response to new regulatory requirements and changing demographics, the group reunited as Beach Cities Care. We combined the two groups serving the region from El Segundo, Torrance to Carson, Wilmington, and San Pedro. The Beach Cities Care organization, when we got back together again, we decided we'd put together a website and dust off our old educational materials, and the group got together. We were meeting prior to the pandemic, various locations throughout the South Bay, and roughly 20 to 30 agency, industry, and public officials would meet. We really brainstormed a lot of great information, and I'm going to share that website information with you here in a minute. But the website resources we have are, we put together a shelter-in-place video. This particular video that's on the website is a bit dated. The news reporter, KNX news reporter, Pete Demetrio, helped us do it. It's a little dated. We are actually updating that, putting a new animated video together as we speak. We have developed various public education pamphlets, shelter-in-place pamphlet, one on refinery flares, and we actually just completed one discussing the coordination ongoing coordination and training that local fire departments do with industry on an ongoing basis. The website also contains easy access to opt-in links to receive phone and text agency emergency notifications. This is a program that LA County, LA City, the South Bay Torrance have been trying to push out to the public. It's an opt-in system, and folks can receive emergency alerts anytime something happens in the community. And we're trying to get people to sign up for that. So that's another way that we're doing it. The website also provides an opportunity for the public to email questions to CARE for communication with emergency response agency and industry representatives. I personally field that once a month, and we go over those questions and follow up with answers. Our members, you can see our membership there. You have all the refineries in the area. We just had a brand new member come on board, Air Products, who has a couple of plants in the region. Also, El Segundo Fire, LA City, LA County, Carson, Emergency Services, City of Hermosa Beach, Torrance Fire, and then the EMS Safety Partners, the Alert South Bay organization, is also represented. And we meet once per month via Zoom, as I mentioned. But I'd like to share the website with you. If I can get it to open here. Okay. I'm having a little trouble with that. There we go. Let's see. No. There we go. Okay, so let's look at our website. We've got the some pictures of local pictures of the communities that we
Steve, we're
represent.
not seeing it. You might have to stop share on the presentation and then start share on browser.
How about that?
Got it.
Okay, great. So you can see we've included some pictures of the region that we cover up above, specific to the South Bay area, from El Segundo to Wilmington. So the first page here has indication of the cities that we cover. You see an informational video, the shelter-in-place video that I spoke of earlier there. You can access it there. These links, also these links to the left of our cities, if you click on those links, we tried to make this as Fisher-Price as possible. So people, as they cruise the site, if they tap on things, they can go right to a link that they can open up and actually register for emergency alerts if they found that. Oops, let's see here. Let's go back. Okay. I'm getting my ribbon in the way here and I can't seem to get this out again. Sorry about that. Whoops. Okay. Oops. I'm sorry, I can't seem to get out of this piece here. Murphy's Law, right? Okay.
Maybe, yeah, maybe if you stop share again, might work. Oh, we have a question too, Steve.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, Councilmember Amato.
Thank you. Steve, who provides, maybe you presented this early on and I missed it. Who provides the funding for your organization?
The membership does. So primarily it is the industry members that are providing the funding. And in the past, we used to have, various groups that would provide funding, but at this time, it's just the industry people.
And so now I have a follow-up question. Who screens the information that you put out? Are you independent of the industry, or do you work with them in refining talking points, preparation, packets, information distributed to the member cities, et cetera?
The entire group, it's a team effort. It's a team effort. Each one of the educational flyers, the local fire agencies have input with it. The industry members have input.
Losing you, sorry.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Something.
A little bit, you're pretty faint, Steve.
Okay. Let's see here. How about now?
Better.
Better.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so all the fire department representatives, emergency management officials, the industry members all have input on all the documents that we put together. It's not done independent of their input. In fact, on the shelter in place flyers that we put together, we had input from the local school districts, specifically in Carson and Wilmington on that. And prior to the pandemic, we actually received approval to distribute those through the schools, so folks would have that information. And we hope to revisit that when things settle out with the pandemic.
Thank you.
Sure. So I'll just go back through this again. So that is the homepage, and then under prepare, here's, again, this is directly where you
Steve, we're not seeing anything but the PowerPoint you initially had up at this point. We're back to the initial deck, yeah.
Apologize for this. Let's see here. Let's try to go to this again.
Hey, Steve, why don't we take it offline? We'll view this site on our own accord after this presentation. That's okay with you? Just for sake of time, it was a great, thank you for the overview. That was good. Are there any other, let me just scroll through here because I can't see everybody. Let's see. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Valentine has a question.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Steve, for the presentation. I noticed that you had several cities up there that are participants in your program, but the residents of my city are not aware of your program, and I would like to know what kind of outreach do you do to make the cities and the residents aware of what you're doing?
Well, currently, what we're doing is all of the membership from the various cities that we've requested to participate. That's how we make that connection with them and their communities. And in the meetings prior to the pandemic and the ones we've had online, we haven't had anybody from, say, Lawndale per se, but we cover that area via the alert notifications. We want people to sign up for alerts in those areas. We're available, that information is available to them online, or if they want to come to the meeting or email us a question, we're there for them. But because of the pandemic, we haven't done a lot of proactive outreach personally for obvious reasons. But we've done, we're working with the agency people to help spread the word out there. And prior to the pandemic, the school people were really pushing this out in Carson and Wilmington. We were making some real good progress.
So what do we need to do in order to make our residents more aware of your program?
I think posting our website on any materials you have. I think what folks will find is they're going to find those links very helpful. To opt into the alert notification system, it's a great tool. So anytime you have an emergency, a smell, smoke in the air, if it's significant, the fire department agency people are going to put those messages out. That's a great tool there. All this information, the fact sheets, can be downloaded offline there, and you can use those as very valuable tools also.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
We also have a question from Jennifer Lamarquis of Supervisor Hans.
Thank you. Hi, Steve. Just a quick question.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm sorry if I missed this. Are the meetings open to the public?
They're not currently open to the public. We're getting to that point. Hopefully when we get back in person again, we'll be able to do that. Right now we're looking at representatives from the community to participate, right? So elected officials, emergency response, public emergency response people, and those folks, and then school people. So as we grow, then we'll start to ask for community representation in the group. We're frustrated by the momentum that we lost due to the pandemic, we were really moving along there for a bit. So.
Okay, and then my other question was the county's Office of Emergency Management involved?
Yes, we've had representatives from them participate, yes.
Okay,
And they've had input on all this information.
great, thanks.
Sure.
All right, I don't see any other hands up. Steve, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being on.
Great, thank you.
Have a great night. Okay, we're on to reports, transportation reports. Is Mayor Butts on from Inglewood? I don't believe he is, but I know Steve Lance is on.
Yeah, I can summarize what happened today at the Metro Board meeting. The principal item today, a 2-hour discussion, was on the new Fairless System Initiative. The Fairless System Initiative has been in development for about, more than a year now, and they've broken it into 2 phases. The first thing they're going to do is allow K through 12 and college students to ride for free if the local school districts and the community college districts provide a minor contribution, 10 to 12% of the cost. That program is about an 18-month program, and it'll start October 1st for students to be allowed to ride for free on Metro buses. It's going to cost Metro about $50 million minus whatever contributions they get from the partners for the 18 months. They're going to cover those costs with an ARPA grant. And then after the ARPA grant runs out, they're going to have to go looking for new federal, state, or other types of local funding. Phase 2 is a much bigger program. That program is called their low income program. The low income program, in order to get that started, would take about $400 million a year in additional fare subsidies. Metro is going to look for the money before they authorize that. The board understands that they want to move forward with it, but they have to find a stable long-term funding source for that program. In the meantime, there is a program that's happened under Metro for several years now called the LIFE program. And that's a 4-trip ticket and a monthly pass that Metro riders who qualify, who are low income, already have access to. So they're going to expand that program and do a 3-month incentive program. If you buy this $26 a month pass, you can get it, you can ride for free. If you sign up for life for the first 3 months, they'll have that incentive program. And after that, it's going to cost you, as I said, $26 a month for the pass, or $6 a week for a weekly pass. They're also going to have what they call 4-trip tickets, which are promotional tickets where people can get used to it. So in order to implement all of this, one of the reasons that they need to do this is they need to resume fare collection enforcement. They're going to start fare enforcement likely in January, I would guess. And that program will eliminate the backdoor boarding and will have you use your tap card or your fare instrument to get on at the front door again. So when you put it all together, you've got a LIFE program for low-income people coming as soon as they find a subsidy source. You've got a student program starting up in October 1st. And you've got this more long-term fareless system still that needs to be funded over the long term. I think the issue for us is that it was approved unanimously to go forward with it. The concerns were, where are we going to find the money for it past the initial demonstration project of the student program and in order to start the low income program. So they've basically asked staff to get out and start looking for money, federal and state grants. And Metro has been doing a pretty good job of trying to get this program written into major federal grants. There's an interest across the country in doing fareless and low fare programs. So there may be a major program in some of the reauthorization programs to get those kind of programs funded. So for now, I think that was the big item on the Metro Board. Questions?
Yeah, we have a question from Councilmember Kaskanian.
Thank you. Do you think the federal agent will help grants on this fairless issue?
I think that it's up to Congress. I don't know. You know, Congress is on one side. Let's put it this way. There's discussion within the Democratic coalitions and discussions within the Republican side as to how many programs they can fund under the new reauthorizations. And I don't really know today whether they're going to get it done or not. But it's on the list that they're considering actively. So we'll know in the next month or so, I would guess.
Yeah, because if not, you know, this will affect big time to the other agencies, local agencies.
The local agencies are already involved in it as far as providing, for an example, if you're a local school district, they want you to provide $3 a month per student. If you're a community college district, they want you to provide $7 a month per student. Those contributions are offsetting 10 to 12% of the cost. The rest of the cost is being absorbed through the ARPA grant and Metro needing to find other funding sources. For some of the board members, their concern was, where are we going to find the money? And there was a lot of conversation about, you know, we're making commitments to capital projects, the West Santa Ana branch, our extension in the South Bay, the Sentinella grade separation, the ITC project in Inglewood. Those are big capital projects that some of the board members are afraid are going to get delayed in order to use fungible money from capital to operations. There's not a lot of it, but they could see a majority of the board deciding, let's fund this program before we start funding new capital projects or doing capital projects. So I think there's some risk and everybody's aware of it. But today it was pretty kumbaya. They were all saying, let's go forward with this and be careful.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see any other hands up. Thank you. Oh, Jackie, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve, I wanted you to talk about the muni operators, but also you just said something which raised a question in my mind, which is you said they want the schools to pay 3 and they want the schools to pay 7.
Correct.
They can't mandate that. Is this
correct? They are looking at what the schools are currently paying for their transportation, and they think it's a better deal for the schools to use this rather than the way they're currently running their school service. And so they think that this is a better plan, and it is purely voluntary by the school districts. It's not mandatory in any way.
So they don't.
And they have, I think they have interest by LAUSD as an example, which is a big one. And about half of the school districts, they said, have expressed interest in participating, and fewer than that at the community college level.
What about the munis? Municipal operators.
Yeah, municipal operators are, I believe, participating. They've been involved in creating the program, so I think they're in, with the possible exception of Torrance. I think. I don't know if Torrance is in or not, but the other ones are in, I think.
Yeah, I think we're in on that, Steve, too. We did a resolution of support for the program, specifically for the youth and education aspect.
For the students.
Students, yeah.
And you did that just in the last week or so?
No, we did that, gosh, a month ago.
Huh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Steve. All right, we're on to Transportation Committee. We've got Chair Horvath on the line.
Yeah, let me just start where Steve left off. So I'm asking David, I don't think he's uploaded the meeting to YouTube yet, but for those interested in this, we had a presentation at the Transportation Committee on the Fairless initiative. And it was, I think it would give you a pretty well-rounded idea of what it's looking like. We did talk about the schools and the munis as a part of that. And in some of the cases during their presentation where you didn't see maybe your school district listed or your muni listed, that doesn't mean necessarily that they are not engaging with Metro. It just means that they haven't like reached a full agreement with them. So it is a good presentation. I don't think it was more than 25 minutes if you want to get some more background on that. So, and then David, you can just send that out to everybody later, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, let me just mention too, we also had a presentation, which I think is definitely well worth anybody's time here. It was on connected travel data tool. And I found it pretty fascinating, just from the perspective of really understanding at a granular level how traffic is moving on each of your streets. It would be something that each municipality would have to kind of buy into, but we haven't really had this discussion at at an executive level here at the COG yet. But it also could be something that possibly the COG would look into as an application for use with the South Bay Fiber Network. I haven't really, gotten into that, but it was really interesting and what I would say a pretty futuristic way for your traffic engineer and public works teams to actually really understand what is happening in terms of movement of cars through your city at problematic, roads, intersections, whatnot. So well worth the time when Dave puts the video up. Otherwise,
Can I add a comment on that one?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
There are two parts to it. This is collecting data from the street, from the cars themselves, rather than doing rubber tube surveys or doing photo surveys. So you're getting a huge amount of data that's flowing through the equipment manufacturers into the system. Our fiber optic network is used to distribute the analysis results and to manage in real time the traffic signals themselves. So it's a marriage of the data that's coming from the cars, some analysis, and then using that to drive signal timing in real time. And the signal timing can be adjusted almost instantaneously because of the fiber optic network being connected.
Yeah, it's a pretty good example of some place where we can go and show that the investment that we made is well worth it. Otherwise, we have two action items on the agenda tonight that require approval. They were approved by the Transportation Committee. They're in your packet, page 58 to 62 for the Measure R, Measure M South Bay Metro budget request process. And then we also have a letter to Metro related to the I-405 Express Lanes evaluation. Steve, did you want to just give any high-level detail on those?
The most important thing to know is that we are again starting our annual Metro budget request process. In order to do that, we need to have the authorization from the board for that. What that does is asks you to submit projects. This year, we do not have funding from Measure R available for new projects. We're going to use the Measure R money that we have to complete the current projects, but we do have new money available under Measure M in those three sub-programs that are in Measure M. So we're working with your public works directors and others on your staff to ask, if you talk to them, please ask them to take a look and submit projects. Those projects are due by, I think, December 1st, if I recall. And then we'll do the analysis December and January and get our request to Metro in February so they can program the money for next July.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if you're doing both action items together. I wanted to explain that the reason why we're sending the letter on the I-405 is that they're looking at express lanes on the I-405. And we believe very strongly that when they put in express lanes, one of the things that Metro has said on the 110 and the 5, I guess, express lane, is that they have alternate transit services. And as we know, there are not a lot of alternate transit services on the 405. So they really need to beef that up if they're going to put an express lane in. Also, we are saying to them that the state highways, the normal corridor that they look at is I think a 3 mile on either side. And there is no, 405 is very different than other freeways because there's really no good parallel streets that you can get off the freeway and go anywhere. So we're saying that we would like them to go all the way to PCH on the parallel corridor, which is exactly what they allowed us to do on Measure R and M. They've allowed that to be considered as part of our travel corridor. And there was a third thing, which I actually don't remember. Oh, it had to do with the right of way, I think.
Yeah.
You want to say what that is?
Yeah, we want to make sure that the lanes are full width lanes, and we need 2 of them in each direction throughout the entire corridor. There's places where it gets very constrained, and Metro is also looking at doing, as an example, the Green Line Extension Light Rail has an alternative which uses the south side of the 405 right of way to get from the existing rail line over to Hawthorne. And we want to make sure there's room for all of that infrastructure and full standard width lanes in the express lanes, if they do express lanes across the South Bay curve.
And one of the reasons why we're saying this, if I can be so frank, is that Metro does a lot of these things in silos. So we really want the express lane people to break those silos down, look at the transit, look at the rights of way, look at all these other things, and make a comprehensive analysis.
Great. Thank you, Jackie and Steve and Christian. Are there any comments or questions about both items? I'm not seeing any. Would someone like to move approval of both items?
So moved.
So moved, Olivia.
Okay, thanks. And a second from Councilmember Horvath. Dave, would you please take a voice vote?
Sure. Any opposition to approving both the Measure R&M Metro budget request process and the I-405 letter? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we also have a letter under item 9, county redistricting comment letter that was attached. I know Barry White's been working on that, but I don't think he's here, correct?
Right, he's not here today.
Okay.
And that, yeah, sorry.
Jackie, please.
I was just going to say that letter speaks to the fact that we wanted to indicate that although we're a community of interest, being in 2 different supervisorial districts is not something that we are objecting to.
Okay. Any comments or question on the letter? Doesn't look like it. Okay, same thing. Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
So move, Pat Fury.
Thank you, Mayor Fury.
Second.
Thank you. I think that was Councilmember Amato.
No, it was Cascanian, I think.
It was both of them.
It was both. Either one. Okay. Dave, please take it away.
Any opposition to approving the redistricting letter? Any abstentions?
Yes, David.
Okay.
Great. All right, we're tabling the newsletter design. We're on to video conference equipment for the office.
Right, this is going to be in a separate attachment that came to you with a couple of days after the agenda, and I'd like to call on Kim and Chandler to go through this item.
Great.
Hi, yes, this is a video conferencing equipment that we're going to be using in our boardroom. And this equipment will give us the opportunity to both have hybrid meetings when we do start to have meetings in person, as well as the opportunity to have people video conference in to make presentations when all of the board members are there. So that's very exciting, as well as used for other agencies if they like to have meetings in our conference room. So with that, we did do some background. Chandler did actually almost all the work on this, and he's here to answer any technical questions, but he reached out to the cities and got some feedback on how they do their systems. One of the main things that he found out is because of the configuration of our room, as well as the number of members that would be sitting around the table, which is probably 3 times that of a lot of the council meetings, we had to be, you're not going to see the same level of service that you would at probably your own city council meeting. So just to keep that in mind, but we do believe that this system would work very well. For those of you that were able to see how it worked, when we tested it out at the steering committee meeting, it's a system that's similar to that, but should work a lot better because we have some additional enhancements to that system. And if you look down into the item, we're recommending item 3, or excuse me, option 3, which is to have a Logitech Rally Plus video conferencing system. It will have the video itself with the camera, Bluetooth keyboard, the mouse, a PC. There'll be 4 mics, and these are not mics that are handheld. There was a lot of discussion at the steering committee that because of COVID and other illnesses, we don't want to necessarily be sharing mics. So these are units that sit on the table. And it will have like a mounting kit, cables and connectors. This would include actually setting it up. There was some discussion about whether we could have actually this tested out, this system particularly tested out like we had the other one. We are not able to do that. Chandler did reach out to the vendor, can't do that. And then there was some concern that we might still need some additional mics. And so we did get a quote for the additional mics, and they are $440 per unit. So we can get those if we need. Probably what we'd like to do is test it out with the original number of mics, and then 4 mics, and then see if we need more. And with that, the recommendation is listed here. But if there's questions, or Chandler, did you want to add anything?
No, not in particular. Obviously, there's a lot of details here, but this is more or less what the steering committee agreed upon. So we went back and got information regarding the ability to expand if needed, if we needed more mics. But that's about it. So we can situate up to 7, but the recommendation in this case is just for 4 that we want to test out before actually deciding if we need more mic units.
Thank you. Thank you both. All right, any comments or questions? We did spend a lot of time, as Jackie suggested, at the steering committee debating this, probably 20 minutes or so, about all the different options and whether or not it had been tested, et cetera. So we feel good about it. And so we have 3 options before us, and staff is recommending option 3, which is more expensive of the 3. Someone like to move approval?
Move approval.
Thank you, Councilmember Horvath. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Valentine. Dave, would you please take a vote?
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
All right, moving along here, we've got item C under 9 is special networking event. Jackie, I know I told you a couple hours ago we didn't have confirmation. I do have confirmation from 2 professional sports organizations that are headquartered in El Segundo that they're going to be at the event. So we have confirmation on that, and it's more or less the business of sports and the connection between government, public and private industry as it relates to sports and entertainment. So we're still baking the content, but we've got 2 speakers at least, so we're good there.
Let's be a little bit more specific. Our chair, Mayor Boyles, came up with the idea that it would be nice to have a networking event. And so this is really primarily a networking event that would be, right now we're looking at 5:30 to 7:30 on Wednesday, November 10th. And we didn't ask you to save the date because we didn't have any speakers. When you say you have confirmation, I assume you mean somebody to speak. And so we'll be getting out that information. It's going to be, because it's 5:30 to 7:30 and we really don't have a budget for this, we are getting the space donated, and it will be a no host bar. There will be we're going to be trying to work that out now, and we'll get on top of that. And it will, because we're inviting the entire board, it's obviously a Brown Act meeting, but it is really for you and your city family. And so you're going to be hearing a lot more about it now that we know that the event is going to indeed take place. Did I forget anything?
No, just that it's an opportunity to connect the COG and also connect us not only to our member cities even further, but also in a networking event, but also to connect with the business community. So part of what we're going to talk about is how sports entertainment can help businesses, even if you do not have one of these facilities in your backyard. So it should be really interesting.
On that same vein, I didn't have a place to tell you this, I guess, but next Wednesday, I've invited your economic development directors to the SoFi Stadium, where they're going to be given a tour and a briefing by the marketing staff to talk about how all of the South Bay cities, the ones that attend, can market the complex, what they're looking at doing, and how cities can take advantage of it. So I just want to let you know that.
Great, thanks, Jackie. Okay, Jennifer Lamarquis.
I just wanted to make sure that beach volleyball was on your radar for this event, given that it's such a huge part of our beach cities and all the tournaments that come in. Definitely, you know, bring economic development, and just wanted to put that on your radar.
Unfortunately, they're not headquartered in El Segundo yet, Jennifer. That would be the 5th professional sports organization. We're working on them. We're courting them. No, I'm just kidding. I was trying to be as deadpan as possible. That's a great idea. I'm sure Stacy and Hildy have connections there. Jim, did you have a comment? Councilman Gaisley? Came off mute for a second to say something. I wasn't sure what it was. Okay, great idea, Jennifer. Thank you. So I don't think there's anything further to discuss that. More details will be forthcoming. Okay. Next up is the South Bay Fiber Network. Jackie.
No, General Assembly.
General Assembly.
Right. Okay, so you haven't heard about it for a while, but it's coming back. The General Assembly, we are going to have it in March. And last year's, you know, was virtual. We're at our 21st General Assembly. We're talking this year about making it shorter so that it would end at lunch and not go into the afternoon. It will probably be a panel and maybe a keynote speaker. And the date we had originally selected was March 17th, which it's in the morning, but March 17th is St. Patrick's Day. So it was suggested that we possibly look at March 24th, which is our regular meeting date. You know, the General Assembly month, there is no board meeting. So if there's no objection from anybody and nobody knows what might be happening on March 24th, we would like to change the date to March 24th and just have it as our regular date, but in the morning instead of the evening. And then the second thing is that we want to talk about, obviously, innovation, the wonderful firms that we have in the South Bay that are doing that kind of innovation, but we need to send out sponsor letters and get started with the publicity. And so we've come up with a title, and that title is Back to the Future, Reimagining the South Bay. So if you see that any place, that's who we are. You're going to be seeing a lot more about it. We're going to need sponsors, and we need to broaden our sponsorship. And so if you could help us with that, we would really appreciate it. Kim, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think the only other thing is we are looking at trying to package the two events so that we can get as much funding available to do both of the events, the November one as well as the General Assembly. We're looking at maybe doing like a tag on, like if you provide sponsorship at $2,500 or another 1,000 or another 1,500. You can then also be a sponsor at the November event. So something like that we're playing with. Any suggestions, we would love to hear them.
But you can see we're under a time crunch if we're going to combine the events.
Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Kim. On to South Bay Fiber Network.
South Bay Fiber Network, we have actually been, I'm pretty excited about this. We've actually been meeting or setting up meetings with other vendors, and we are doing this with the understanding of American Dark Fiber to find ways to actually bring our fiber to your businesses and to your residents. And so we are meeting with different organizations to see how this would work. We're at the very beginning stages of it. We've asked Magellan Advisors, our consultant, to help us with these meetings, because we need to know what questions to ask and what kinds of things they're going to be offering us. But there are so many firms that are now interested with the new visibility of how important fiber is. We think this is a good time for the South Bay Fiber Network to move on to the next step. We're also working with Wilmington, Councilman Buscaino's office, and we hope to work with District 2 on finding locations for what we're calling neighborhood centers, where we would take our network and we would bring it into a neighborhood and then have robust services for the community in that center, so that not everybody in those communities is hooked up to fiber. But if we had a neighborhood center, they could get there and they could have high band services. So we're working on that project. And then we're just making a lot of contacts, getting our name out there so that when things come up, people will come to us. And it is starting to happen. I know I don't know if you know, we gave each of your cities shovels. I was at the Carson City Council meeting the other night, Zooming, and presenting the shovel. And if anybody would like somebody from the COG to present the shovels, please let us know if you haven't done that already. But the fiber network's moving along, and we're pretty excited about being able to bring to you even more services in your cities.
Great, thank you, Jackie. Any questions for Jackie or staff on the fiber network? Doesn't look like it. Okay, moving on to homeless services.
We're flying through this. I don't know if Zoom can show you the incredible smile on my face, but we have hired Ronson Chu, and this was such a good idea. And I'm just so thrilled to be able to introduce you tonight to Ronson. He's only had, he started, I think, September 7th, and we immediately gave him $3.7 million worth of projects and said, okay, get them down to 1.9. And so he's been meeting with all of the cities that presented projects. He's been working on our billing. He's been working on, I mean, just a multitude of things. And so I want you to meet him, and I hope you'll work with him and let him know what your issues are with homelessness in your cities, because I think so far Ronson's been able to handle whatever's come at him. So Ronson?
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. And yeah, it's definitely a little bit trial by fire right now. It's just so much going on, which is a good thing. We got the innovation funds. First, I guess I should back up and just introduce myself. Oh, sorry. Is that better?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's fine. We can hear you.
Can't hear him.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, so I was just saying, maybe I just introduced myself. I just came from LASA, and before that, worked at the homeless court in LA County. Most of my career has been spent in the private sector and corporate finance for a lot of different industries, entertainment, retail, and logistics. But I am a South Bay resident, so I'm a constituent as well. And speaking about sports, I run a ragtag basketball league in the South Bay basketball league. So like if you want to work on your jump shot, just let me know. Boys and girls welcome. Other than that, yeah, just on the homelessness front, we have a lot going on. Jackie mentioned the innovation funds. We also have the Blue Ribbon Commission, which Chairman Horvath, Chairmember Horvath is co-chairing, which is great. So we're showing a lot of good leadership from the South Bay on homelessness. So yeah, just in general, really happy to be here and looking forward to working with all you on our homeless issues.
I want to mention also, we can all hear Olivia. I don't know what the problem is that you're having. Olivia's having trouble hearing. Okay. Though I wanted to also mention that Ronson and the people that are actually reviewing the proposals, just so you know this, because if your city submitted a proposal, they're not all going to get the amount of money that they submitted, because we have this huge problem of $3.7 million of projects for $1.9 million. So what we did was we asked, and Grace actually helped us with this, we asked San Gabriel Valley, which has a really good homeless staff, to help us. And a staff member there read all of the proposals, which was really wonderful. And we really appreciated that. And then also for those of you that know her, Nancy Wilcox, who is a volunteer in the community, has given her time to not only read the proposals, but to come to all of the interviews. And she's just doing a great job. And so we're really thrilled to have other experts to help us, because I'm sitting on this panel and I'm definitely not an expert. So so that's how when you hear about the evaluations, they're happening not just with us, but with some outside people. And then I also want to make sure, Ronson just mentioned it, but we are so fortunate in the South Bay because besides Ronson, we have Christian, and Christian has just been made co-chair of the Blue Ribbon Commission. And I don't know if Christian, if you want to say a few words about this commission, what it's going to do and how you're going to change the world.
Yeah, we're going to change the world in 6 months. Homelessness will be eradicated when I am done with this commission. So thank you all. Good night. This Blue Ribbon Commission, it's at least a 6-month window. We're meeting every 2 weeks. Right now, just so you know, we're kind of in a what I would call the learning phase. We're trying to absorb an enormous amount of information about LAHSA, how it functions, the governance structures, Measure H, just how everything intertwines and comes together. And there have been other commissions in recent years that have also kind of examined LAHSA, so we will be looking at that material as well. And then ultimately what we are supposed to do is try to, I think, come up with some guidelines to potentially either improve LAHSA and make it a really streamlined organization that benefits not only the city of LA and the county, but really, I think, more intimately has a direct impact on each of our cities and or the COGs. So it's a tall order, and luckily there are 2 representatives, myself and Becky Shevlin from the San Gabriel Valley COG, that are representing specifically cities and COGs, and then we have 2 people that are actually on the board of LAHSA that are serving on the commission, and then a few other people as well engaged. The one unfortunate aspect is that the city of LA has chosen not to participate in the commission, and LAHSA was created as a joint powers authority between the city of LA and the county of LA. So my personal goal is just to ensure that we actually do something, and that whatever we do is actionable, because like I said, there's been at least 3 other studies in recent years that have not been moved on in any way, shape, or form. And if anybody, we just so you guys know too, we are meeting, all the COGs are kind of meeting every 2 weeks as well, at least starting this past week, just to be able to get any input and feedback from the COGs. So if your individual city has input that you think is important for our subregion and or your city specifically, I would pass that information over to Ronson, and then we will be able to try to effectuate that eventually when we kind of get into nuts and bolts about how to move forward. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Christian. Appreciate it. Okay, we're on to senior services. Britt's not on, but I know Ronson is here. So is Ronson going to talk about this?
Can you tell us about the upcoming meeting?
Yeah, so our next meeting is October 5th. We pushed it back a week just to give me some time to get settled in. But yeah, we have an agenda coming up that we will issue on Tuesday. We have invited the West Side Villages to come discuss about their program. And we're gonna hopefully do a feature on ADUs and all the recent rules regarding ADUs that have come up. And we have a couple of speakers, hopefully, that we're still confirming, but they'll be talking about not only just construction, but then also, like I mentioned, the municipal and codes that are required on the ADU projects and the legislation that's changed recently. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Okay, SPY working group, we have Mayor Stern and Councilmember Armato on that committee, task force.
Toss it to the mayor.
So we met last week as a committee, and which is being overseen by the Beach Cities Health District. And we just talked about, is launching this group, what the priorities are, what each of the cities is interested in looking at. And we got some great feedback. Right now, what we're looking at is increasing our information and improving on the information that's coming from the county Department of Health to our cities. There was a great interest to understand what all the resources were for the cities and for that, and all the different aspects that the Department Health can provide so that we know where to go when we have an interest or a specific issue with respect to our health impacts in our own cities. We also identified areas of, different areas of health, specific areas of health that we would like to look at. And those included mental health issues, homeless services, assisting in our older adult populations as a starting point for how we wanted to affect our unique health issues in our cities and in the SPA. So I thought it was a really productive start. It was a great way for all of us to start to get together. We're looking forward to our next meeting. And Jackie, if you can remind me if we've set that. It didn't.
We haven't set it yet. I think a doodle poll. We agreed on a doodle poll.
That's correct. That's correct. So, and please jump in here to fill in where I've left off and anything that we've accomplished.
No, I think that's where we are.
So, we always appreciate any input and any other suggestions on what's important to any of the cities. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Brown Act status, Jackie?
I think we have media report. The media report, I just wanted to draw your attention to that, and Colleen is here. Colleen every month is now doing is she here? There she is. She's now doing a media report for you. It's in the agenda, right? And so, Colleen, I don't know if you want to go through a couple of statistics. Now that we have a communications person, we are getting more impact and more people looking at us. So Colleen, do you want to review a little bit? This will be a standard item, and we'll put it on the consent calendar, but I really wanted you to see it this time specifically.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know that I was giving this.
I know. I'm sorry.
Is it in the agenda?
It's in the chat. You can click on the chat.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, Colleen. I hit you with this one. Yeah.
Let me open it up.
While she's doing that, I wanted to let you know that I've been sharing this information with all of our partners also, and really promoting how, as they share their social media or public information kinds of postings, and they love everything that they've seen that we've been putting out that Colleen has been doing. So it's really fantastic. I think it's really adding a lot of value to our contracts as well.
Yeah. Have you seen it, Colleen?
Yeah, this looks like it might be an old report though. It's got an August, let's see, August media hit here.
This is from our report. Okay, this would be from August. It's the impressions from August. Okay. So you wanted to say what's here?
Sure. So we just, let's see, we had the really great segment that ran on Spectrum News One's website about the homeless court, and we did have a mention in that story. And the way we sort of rank these in terms of the communications industry has sort of changed how they evaluate measurement for media coverage. They used to base it on comparatively to advertising, but that was really kind of difficult to gauge. So now they look at it from a sense of quality and relevance and sentiment. So we see this as a medium quality piece of coverage because we only had a mention in it, whereas if it was all about the COG, then it would have been a very high quality media coverage. And then we have, for relevance, we had it was high because it does speak to our mission as an organization, and it was positive. So the rest of these were just sort of mentions to us. I'm not actually sure how some of them were generated, but we were mentioned in these articles here. And again, it falls into the high quality because it was relevant to our mission, but then we only had a mention in it. So let's see what else. In terms of our Facebook presence, we are growing that. We started off when I joined the organization with we've been talking about combining our SBESC Facebook page with the SBCCOG Facebook page, because the SBESC page has so many more followers, but then, there are two different audiences. So there's been internal discussion about that, but we have grown and slowly growing our organizational Facebook presence. And we're looking at adding an Instagram account this coming year. And let's see what else.
We can see that our video, our SB9 video.
Yeah, our SB9 video generated 15,000. Is that accurate?
Yeah, 15,000 recipients, right.
Okay. Oh, recipients. Yeah, but I did look at it. It had, when it's on the YouTube channel, it was viewed by almost 800 people. So that's a pretty good, that's pretty good traction. So I'm sorry, I wasn't more prepared to give this report.
It's my fault. It's my fault. So this is going to be in your packet every month. And what we want to do is we're doing it for the partners as well, as Kim said, because they can see the impact of what we're doing for them. And so, just take a brief glance at it. And if you have any questions, ask Colleen about it. Okay. Thank you.
Good stuff. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Colleen. And I know there's at least one strategic priority in our new strategic plan for the COG, which is about to be finalized, that talks about impressions or mentions in the press for the COG. So that's great.
So,
right. Brown Act status. Are we onto that?
Now we're at the Brown Act. Okay, so you probably have been told by your own attorneys that the governor signed AB 361, and that we can still, as long as there is an emergency order, it was made urgency. So as long as there is an emergency order, we can meet in this fashion, but we have to pass the board has to pass a certain wording, which we'll put on the consent calendar if you want to do that. So and then I also wanted to report to you that CalCOG, the California Association of Council of Governments, is working on addressing this in the next session, because going back, once the emergency order is over, we're going back to the old law, and there are things we've learned that should be updated in the Brown Act. And so CalCOG is working on that, and we'll be following that too. But the bottom line of the reason why we put this on the agenda is now that you have a choice. The October meeting is October 28th. Do you want to continue with the emergency orders, doing it this way? Do you want to come to our office? We hope to have the equipment in by then to do some kind of a hybrid. So it's sort of a question to you is what you want to do next month.
And we have to wear masks.
Yeah, you'd have to wear masks at this point.
As I mentioned, we've been in council chamber for quite some time now in El Segundo, and we don't wear masks, even though we're technically supposed to, because we don't bring public in. And then if we have public comments where people are actually there as opposed to Zoom, then we'll put our masks on and bring them in. I'd prefer not to do a meeting with masks on. It's just difficult to do. I'd rather we wait a month, see what happens. That would be my personal preference.
I agree.
Jim, thanks.
Anyone else? Did he agree? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Yes, Councilmember Gaisley agreed, or Mayor Pro Tem, I think. My apologies. Any other thoughts on that?
If there aren't any, we'll do this again. We'll have a Zoom next month.
Let's do that.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Jackie.
Okay, I have several other items and under other.
Other, yes.
Yes, okay. So first of all, I neglected, this organization is getting so complex that I'm forgetting things, and I forgot the legislative briefing. So I would like to call, and any update on the legislative committee, you passed the purpose and everything on the consent calendar, but I would like Stacy to talk to you about the legislative briefing, which is going to be a not to miss event. Stacy?
That's a real buildup right there, Jackie. Thank you. Yep, our legislative briefing, it's scheduled for October 14th. And so far we've confirmed Congress member Ted Lieu, Congress member Maxine Waters, Senator Bradford, who has some time constraints, Senator Dove, and Assembly member Marisucci. We are soliciting questions from our city managers. We'll certainly go through that with the legislative committee, but if any of you all have questions that you want asked, I know we were looking at maybe having a different format. We're kind of struggling on how to do that if we don't have participation. So if it's your idea that you would like to have this format different, please contribute your suggestions so that we can work on it ahead of October 14th. You don't need to give us your questions or comments at the moment if you don't have them, but please either email me, Jackie, or David so that we can have plenty of time to prepare for October 14th. That concludes my update.
Stacy, what time are you think? Is it morning as usual?
I think that's what we're planning, 9 o'clock, Jackie?
9 a.m. 9 a.m. to 10, it's right now 10 a.m. to 10:45. And yeah, we're trying to figure out how to let them say, give us their updates, but also have plenty of time to ask questions.
So obviously this is going to be virtual as well, right?
Yes, this will be virtual. Well, it doesn't have to be, but the plan is that it will be virtual. And I think that some of the interesting, obviously they're all going to be interesting speakers, but I just wanted to mention that Maxine Waters has recently sent a letter to the LA airport talking about her concern about their increasing the gate number. And we might want to talk to her about that. Senator Kamlager is planning to reintroduce, or I guess it's a 2-year bill. So SB 679, which was the regional housing trust, which although many of you like the concept of a housing trust, this particular bill had some poison pills for us. So we want to discuss that. So there's really some specific things in their agendas that we want to discuss, but then also we want, if you have specific other items, please let us know in advance because it's going to be a very tight schedule.
Yeah, I mean, really think about the issues that are affecting your cities so that we can direct those questions to them on those issues. So,
yeah, just to elaborate a little further, I think the sentiment in the past from past meetings was that it was very one way coming from the speakers as opposed to true dialogue. And then there are only a couple instances where people are really throwing out the hard balls in terms of questions, I think, right? Is that a fair assessment, Stacy?
yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it has been pretty one way. We've been really tight on time and, it's been fine in the past, but I think we're trying to enhance the experience for everyone and really engage better in a back and forth dialogue, which is why we want to have those questions ahead of time. If we rely on the audience that attends to ask questions, you know how that goes. You never know what you're going to get or if it's going to be what we all want answered. So better to gather them ahead of time. So please send over your questions or concerns.
And Stacy, is the idea that the questions will be presented to them with enough time so that they can actually come in and just address what is being asked of them, as opposed to making, a broader presentation that maybe is not something we want to focus on?
Well, we talked about that a little bit, Jackie and I. I think we can't get away from them presenting their top issues and that they've moved forward or that they're addressing. But I do think that and I don't know if we'll get them the questions ahead of time or not. I guess we'll talk about that. I mean, they're not going to be blindsided by the issues. So if they are available before the meeting, maybe we will send it over to them.
In the past, we've sent any questions we've had over to them to try to keep them on our agenda.
Yeah, well, there you go. We'll send it to them ahead of time.
Okay.
Great.
But I'll still take last minute questions.
Yeah,
So.
right. Okay,
Awesome.
I have, I would also like to call on Kim because I'd like her to give an update on the Environmental Services Center and what's been going on there, just briefly. Kim?
Yes, sure. First of all, I wanted to let you know that our 2 Civic Spark Fellows have started. They just started last week on Monday. We have Sean Fukioka, who is going to be working on energy efficiency. And we have Ann Youngdale, who's going to be working on our climate. They're helping cities to do their update on their greenhouse gases. She's already reached out to the city of Rancho Palos Verdes, who needs some help right away. And it'll be great for the projects that they're working on. For the energy efficiency, One of the main things that we're going to be looking at next year is an energy equipment inventory. And we're going to be going into cities and looking at what are the type of equipment that they have, and then what is the age of that equipment, and what can be collectively maybe purchased, and talk to the CPUC about what kinds of incentives can they give local governments in order to meet these needs. So that should be really exciting, a big project that they're working on next year. We're going to have a special meeting of facility managers, the climate staff, and the city fleet managers, specifically on programs for energy efficiency for what is considered underserved, as well as pollution burden. And so what's nice is that this is opening up opportunities for cities that sometimes don't get an opportunity to have some of these special programs. We have 7 cities in the South Bay that qualify for the programs: El Segundo, Torrance, Wandale, Gardena, Hawthorne, and Carson and Inglewood all qualify for this program. And it also will provide help to do electric vehicle charging. So we're having Edison come out to help with their Charge Ready program. And Edison also has a program for electric vehicle purchase, and they'll be giving information to the fleet managers on that. So that's a very exciting program. And then the last thing I wanted to let you know is that, you know, our SoCal Gas partnership is coming to an end this year. The CPUC has changed the way that they're doing partnerships, and this is the last year we'll be able to do it with the utilities. And they gave a special highlight at their last kind of going away meeting, and they complimented our organization. And they highlighted that over the course of our work with them, we have reduced 165,000 therms. We have that in savings. And we were able to bring $225,000 in incentives to your cities. And so that was really exciting. We are in the process of trying to get the last projects in. One of the big jobs is trying to benchmark all of your city facilities, because the state is starting to require benchmarking. They're going to start notching down by the size of building. And hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have all of the city data, electricity and gas data into that system so that you can easily be benchmarked. And I think that's it, if there's any questions.
Thank you, Kim. Any questions? Doesn't appear to be. Okay.
One more
Agency-
item. One more item.
Geez, killing me with the other. We were doing.
I
so
know,
well.
I know.
Come on,
I get my
Jackie.
other, I just went crazy. This is the last item. Kim and Colleen and the staff have been working so hard on updating our website. And I am extremely pleased to say that, fingers crossed, if you go on Monday to the SBCCOG website, it will be all new. It's completely different. And I hope you'll go take a look and give us your feedback. We're pretty excited about it. And I want to thank them for all the work they've put in.
That was worth it.
This is
Thank
for
you.
the team.
That's awesome.
Mostly
Yeah.
the team.
You'll send us a reminder email, I'm sure, Monday, right, Jackie? When it's
Yes.
live?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, we're on to agency reports, right? Or are there more others?
No, there's no more
Okay,
others.
good.
I'm sorry.
Agency reports is only if there's anything to add verbally to the reports that have already been received. Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay, upcoming events. We've got the economic forecast. You want to talk about that, Jackie?
Well, every year we lend our name to the Cal State Dominguez economic forecast, and then they give us a reduced price. So it's a $95 event, and it's right before our board meeting. It's the day of our board meeting, but you can rush home if you want to go to it, and you'll miss their cocktail hour, but you can come back to a Zoom from us. But so I'm just letting you know, because we always offer to publicize it for them. And,
Great.
and don't forget our legislative breakfast. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, any announcements from anyone? Wow, efficient group this evening. It's great. We are officially adjourned with 20 minutes to spare. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Great job, Drew. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be
Sorry.
safe, everyone.
Bye now.
Bye.
David, before you pop off,